Hi, this is Dr. Dave, and we're starting to finish up the second project on salary offers, and I wanted to give you some tips of now how we can take the graph that you have just modified it so that it has your salary labels here, your axes labels, and you have a point of intersection is somewhere in the middle of the graph, hopefully around 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. So this is our Google Sheet that you've been working with. In your project folder, you also have a Google slide, and this is going to form the basis of your infographic, just like it has done for previous projects. You may find some stuff in here already. Feel free to delete it, but I'm going to start from a blank sheet here, and I'm going to go ahead and just give you some ideas of things you can put into your infographic. You don't have to do exactly what I've done here. In fact, I hope you improve upon it. So let's go ahead and go back to the Google Sheet. One of the things people like to have is this graph inside of their Google slide. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it and then go up to Edit, Copy. Now I'll go over to the Google slide and I'm going to go up to Edit and Paste. I'm going to say don't link this, because if I link it, anytime something's changed in the other sheet, it'll automatically change here, and you don't want to accidentally have those things linked and have things change when you don't want them to change. I'll say paste, and I can now see that my graph is inside of the Google slide. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. Now, once I have this in here, I might want to make this a little bit larger, so I'm going to go click on my select arrow here. And remember, we can always go down to the edge here, stretch this, and make it a little bit larger. Like so. You'll want to make it a size that's appropriate for your particular infographic. I can also take it and move it around a little bit so it's centered a little bit better on the page. But these are all things that are kind of cosmetic and that'll help you to make it look better. All right, so that's how you get your graph into here, and that's probably something you're going to want to have in here. You may want to go ahead and label this point of intersection on here or some other point on your graph. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and say Insert, and then I'm going to go ahead and take either a shape or a line. I think I'm going to go to Line and select arrow, and then I'm going to click and drag. So now I've got my arrow on there. If I want this to be a little thicker, I could go up to line weight and say make it 2 pixel. I can also go up here and change the line color, so maybe it's red or some other color. So now that I'm pointing out that point of intersection, let's go ahead and say Insert Text Box, and I'll click and drag to put in a text box, and I'm going to say here salaries equal. I can maybe make this a little bit nicer. I can select it and change the font on it. Remember, to change the font, we're going to have to go up into here, and right there is my text color. So I could put that in red. I could make it bold so it stands out a little bit more, or not. It's up to you. And once I have that in there, I can move it around a little bit so that it really shows me what I want to show in the picture. So let's back up on this and take a look. So I might say, oh, it's going off the side of the graph here. Let me move it over just a little bit. However, if I do that, now it's not quite pointing to the right place. So now I'll come over to my arrow, and I can move my arrow around a little bit, because you want it to point at what you want it to point at. Now, another thing that might come in handy here is to have some kind of a table in here so you can illustrate what your numbers are. So I'm going to go up to Insert and then go down to Table, and then I can select how big I want this table to be. So I could say select here, Let's say I've got a year and 2 salaries, so I'll probably need 3 rows. And let's start out with 5 columns here. It's going to put that in there. If I want to move it around a little bit, I can. But I should probably make it centered, and that's what that little red line is showing up. Inside of here, I'm going to now go ahead and put some labels. So for instance, year. Down here, I can put salary 1, salary 2, and then I could fill the numbers in here. If I want this to be a little bit larger, I can grab the corners of it and make it larger. And then of course I can maybe center it again. But one of the things that I find people sometimes have trouble with is they make some of these things so small that it's hard to read. So here I'm going to go up, I'm going to select all of this stuff, and I'm going to say put this in a 18-point font. Now that's a little bit larger, and when I type into the rest of these cells, it's going to put those in an 18-point font. You might want to put that stuff in bold so they stand out. Click, make it bold. There's lots of different things you can do in this. You can even go ahead and edit these things so that the lines come out in different colors. So maybe you want to put this in purple. Now you've got a purple table. So there's lots and lots of different things you can do here. What you want to make sure though is that your stuff that you put in here, whether it's a graph, it's a table, it's both of them, you are answering the question that's in the project letter. And that project letter essentially was asking you to decide at what point do you decide to take one salary over the other. We know from this graph when these salaries are equal. However, even if I were to say after about 4 years the salaries are equal, remember that first 4 years, this blue salary, salary 1, has always been higher. So you've made much more money than you have in salary 2. You're going to have to go a little bit beyond this, because at that point here, salary 1 was greater than salary 2, so you've accumulated more money in salary 1. You're going to have to go somewhere past that to accumulate the same amount of money in salary 2 as in salary 1. And that's really what your deciding factor is. So make sure that you're focusing on that point and not the point at which they're equal. Once you've gone ahead and put this together, I'm going to go ahead and grade it and give you a little bit of feedback. The more that you have in here, the better the feedback that I can give. I need to see everyone contributing to what's going on here. So what you want to make sure you do is that you take some of the things that I've put here and assign each person on your team a different part to do. One person may be doing the first part of this technology assignment where you're putting some labels and things on your graphs and making sure that your point of intersection is right in the middle here. Another person may put on the label here, another person may put in the table, and another person may fill in the table. Some of these things you're going to have to do early on in the assignment. You don't want to have the person who's creating the table be someone who can't work on it till the day it's due, because you need that table to be there to be able to fill in the entries there. So make sure you talk to your team members, determine when they have time to work on things so that the people that need to get things done early, like put the graph in, that gets done early. People that have time later on can be the ones that go ahead and put in the pointers. After the deadline, I'll go ahead and look at the revision history, and what I'm going to want to see is that everyone has contributed to this. Then after I give you the feedback, you can make some fine tuning, and then you will go ahead and that will be your final version.